Today we're going to talk about winter injured vines and how to deal with them, or how to retrain them and get them back into production. So today we're looking at an older vine. This is about a 15-year-old mission vine here at the Albuquerque Biopark Heritage Farm located in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So last winter this vine was subjected to some cold temperatures that actually killed some of this older wood, and you can see it's quite substantial older wood. And today's date is July 23rd, 2020, and so it's late into the growing season, and this vine has still not been worked on. That's a great thing, because if you go out into your vineyard in the spring, you see it's been winter damaged or killed, you don't want to get too anxious about trying to fix it. That way you let the vine tell you a little bit about what's going on with it, and then how to react to what the vine is trying to do to survive. The first thing we notice when we walk up to this vine, obviously this wood is dead. There's no canopy here, no leaves. These leaves typically produce auxins, which is a hormone that retards growth down below. Well, with these leaves gone, we can see right here down at the bottom we've got a profusion of growth from suckers. And that's a good thing. It's a survival mechanism for this vine, and it allows it to regenerate and feed the root system that's still probably undamaged below the surface of the soil. So this is a survival mechanism, and it gives you an opportunity to retrain your vine. Right now, let's just leave these alone and let them feed the root system and concentrate on the upper growth. And what we want to do is maintain as much of this growth as possible to maintain leaf area, again, to feed the roots and regenerate the vine. So now we'll just go to work removing some of this older wood and see where we end up as we train this thing to a high wire system. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove some of this older wood, and you can see it's completely desiccated and dead, so we're really not doing any damage to the vine. A question that comes up a lot of times is, okay, Gil, you're going to retrain the vine. How much should I fertilize it? Don't. In short, do not. I mean, you can skip a year of nitrogen, which is the most important nutrient for grapevines. And so between the older wood that stored some nitrogen and mineralization of the soil, you'll get enough nitrogen to support this vine through the current season. Right, so this is going to take some corrective surgery, we might call it. And so we're going to remove some of this older wood, and to do that, we're going to use a regular pruning saw. And remember, these saws cut on the pull stroke, so they only cut that way mostly. And we can see quite a bit of wood rotting disease was present probably prior to the winter injury. So this vine was compromised. It was in a weakened condition when the cold weather hit, so that may have contributed to its ultimate death. The thing to remember is don't get too enthusiastic about removing wood at this point. You don't want to make a cut that you'll regret. So that was one of the multiple trunks, and that's a lesson that we learned in the last video, was to train multiple trunks to reduce the risk of any one trunk dying and then your entire vine dying. This vine was trained to multiple trunks. This one was injured so bad that it completely died, and not to worry. You can see the splitting due to the cold weather, but the main trunk is still alive, so we're in good shape there. Okay. That was a halfway mistake. By cutting that entire trunk, we've lost this leaf area. So be careful. Okay. So I'm going to leave this wood here for now. I'm not going to get too more enthusiastic about this shedding bark. Is not a huge deal. That's normal, and it won't hurt by removing it if you want to, just for aesthetics. Now that we've removed most of the older wood that we think is dead, or showed that it was dead, let's go ahead and just kind of clean it up a bit. And again, we can see some evidence of wood rotting diseases and trunk splitting due to the cold weather. And this vine also has some splits in it, but we're gonna use it because it's what's left for us. So after we've removed this cordon that was growing here, it had died back. But notice this proliferation of new shoots that came out this year. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they're from latent buds that were formed at the base of that shoot. They were latent until the hormonal production was cut. And when that was cut, it gave the vine a signal to produce more shoots from these latent buds that normally would not pop and grow. But they did this year due to the winter injury. And that's a good thing, and we can see that we have 4 new shoots to work with. Information out there about not treating pruning wounds, but in grape, I still like to treat them either with a good latex paint, acrylic latex, or a commercial pruning wound treatment. Okay, so let's just paint these wounds with this paint. And you're thinking, like, why would you want to do that? You don't have to, but I like to, simply to preclude fungal spores from landing there and creating more wood rotting diseases. And it's good to do it this time of year. It's actually better to do it immediately after the pruning cut, regardless of the time of year, but this is a time of year where we won't get vine bleeding. That'll push that paint off. If it does, you'll have to repaint it. Now that we have the older wood removed and we have painted the wounds, let's see if we can't train this thing back up to this bicordon or maybe 4 cordons and high wire kind of system. Now if we look at this shoot, it's a nice healthy shoot, and it's in good shape. One thing that you can do to make it a little easier to work with is to remove these laterals. That'll also help the shoot itself girth up over time. So we'll bring it up here and we'll do 1.5 wraps. Like that. We might want to secure it. These little twisty ties you can get at most gardening centers are pretty handy. The only thing with these twisty ties with the wire that's inside, you have to be careful not to do them too tight because they tend not to rot and they will eventually constrict the shoot and girdle it. So You want to tie it, but leave the loop fairly loose up against the new wood, because it will expand as it grows, obviously. We're in good shape here with this other shoot, and to help these two shoots stay in place, we're going to crisscross them a bit, and as they grow, then this V shape right here will be steadied because they'll be pulling against one another and keeping themselves in place. In other words, if we just came straight up with the shoot and over, we would tend to get a big gap up here. Keep in mind, this is a treatment for a vine probably in a backyard situation. If you're a commercial grower, you would probably simply keep all these shoots, loop them up, throw a piece of string around it and call it good and go on. But if you have time, this is a little bit more nuanced way to train the vine and will pay off in the end. It's just a matter of time versus money for a commercial operation. But the most important thing is to maintain as much leaf area as you can and give it time to recover. So right now we have the two upper arms. And we might want to loop them together here. I'm just going to let this grow. Maybe it'll go that way, maybe not. And this one, we can bring it up and train it along our other as another cordon. And we'll just loosely tie it in place as well. And then this could be our extra. The thing to remember about retraining a winter injured vine is don't get hung up on aesthetics. Let it have the leaf area it needs to recover. And so when we get to the base, this is your sign that this vine has been injured, either through winter injury or some sort of trunk injury, and is trying to help itself. So let these things grow, these suckers, let them continue to grow during the growing season, supply the roots with more carbohydrates, and then we can remove them next winter as we see fit, or we can take one of these and train it up as a replacement trunk. Okay, so now that we've trained the vine and pretty much got it going in the direction we want, the questions again arise about fertilizer and water through the rest of the growing season. Nitrogen is the most important nutrient. This vine is fairly green and in good shape. The nitrogen that's stored in the permanent wood and in the roots and mineralized through the soil is going to provide enough nitrogen for the remainder of this season. So don't worry about nitrogen. The other thing you might ask is, how do I water it? These mature vines with a lot of leaf area, a normal leaf area, should require 10 to 30 gallons a week minimum. And so don't cut back on the water for this year of recovery.